everyone, and happy 2023. Welcome back to the She Shoots podcast, Women Empowering Women in the Shooting Community, Season 2 premiere, Episode 13, Women Who Protect and Serve. So today's episode will be covering the theme of professional/career in firearms. So my name is Regina Ruiz Ordóñez, and I'm from the Canadian University Shooting Federation. As always, joining me today are my co-hosts, Deneen Tomlin and Casey Gavinchuk from Lady Guns, and Kelly Melanson from Mapleseed Project, Sci-Fi Radio, and CCFI Women's Program. I would like to start by thanking our sponsors, Cabela's Canada Outdoor Fund, positively shaping the future of the outdoors. Every cent donated by rounding up at checkout goes toward helping organizations just like ours. Canadian organizations just like ours. Savage Arms, home to the Stevens single-shot rifles and shotguns. Beretta, family-owned and operated since 1526. Vortex, the best in optics. And our new sponsor, Canada First Ammo. If you have any questions or comments throughout the show, make sure to leave them in the chat box below. Doing so will automatically enter you in today's draw for the giveaway. And today's giveaway is actually a Canada First Ammo prize bag. So that's it for me. So Kelly and Deneen, can you please introduce our guest for today?
Yeah.
Yay.
Hey, Kel. Happy New Year, everyone.
Hey, Happy New Year to you guys too. So
I found the bio.
awesome. Guess what? I got kicked out and was literally just loading up as you said, hey,
Yeah.
New Year.
Awesome. Well,
I'm back.
Thank you. You want me to go ahead then, or
whatever?
Awesome. All right. Okay. It's like we're gonna make it up here. Awesome. And
Yeah.
I guess go, right? So tonight for our first episode of the new year and of season 2, we've got a wonderful woman to share an hour with, and I get the pleasure of introducing Constable Cassandra Calverley. I messed it up. Calverley. Let's try this again. Cassandra is a Royal Canadian Mounted Police or RCMP member of 4 years, stationed up in the northeast area of Alberta, originally from Southern Ontario, where she learned firearm safety and handling at a very young age from her father. Prior to being hired by the RCMP, she was able to participate and earn her riflewoman patch at a local Project Mapleseed event. Yay, Project Mapleseed.
Hey.
She later applied those fundamentals during the RCMP training and earned the Cross Pistols Marksmanship Award. Welcome, Constable Cassandra, to the show, and congratulations for taking your Mapleseed training all the way to your RCMP career and using it there. Welcome tonight. We're gonna have a fun hour chatting you up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was really kind of great experiences doing that, taking that Mapleseed experience and applying it at Depot. It made it really more enjoyable.
Awesome. Well, I think everybody knows that I know Cass, probably because she took it in Mapleseed. But I thought she was the perfect person to come on and talk about women who protect and serve. So again, thank you for coming on. Super exciting to have you on the first episode for season 2 for She Shoots. But not only that, just to talk about how women can get into law enforcement and also about your experiences as well. So we're super excited to have you on. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about your background? I know that you grew up with your dad and he introduced you to shooting, but do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So my dad introduced me to firearms at a very young age. He was a competitive handgun shooter. And so being that and that being a thing that he enjoyed, he wanted to ensure that I grew up with an understanding and respect for firearms and especially their safety. So right from very, very young age, I was around them. I was taught how to respect them and to handle them safely. So I kind of did everything in his little workshop down there, from punching primers to watching him tear down various different handguns and him showing me the different parts and stuff. And of course, rifles too. We did a lot of different stuff with different rifles, but it was a lot of handgun stuff, which was really, really fun. So it's something that I meant that when it came to training and things like the Project Mapleseed, I was already very comfortable being around a firearm. And definitely it helped me at Depot because I'd been around them. So I didn't have that new get to know them kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
As you're trying to do all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah. And it was obvious that you're competent as well. So I think that the instructors also appreciated that as well. So what made you decide to become a police officer? Why and what inspired you to join?
Yeah, so it actually kind of started when I was really little. Our like preschool kind of stuff was at the library, and the library was right next to the police station. And we had this awesome OPP officer who was just so friendly with us. I remember him having jokes with us, and I was really young, so they must have been lasting. And I kind of always was like, that would be really cool to be like that guy. And then growing up, I developed a real interest in true crime and forensic science, and kind of researched how I'd get into those kind of things, and everything came back saying, you need to be a police officer. So kind of just was like, I guess that's what I'm going to be then.
Okay. So what made you to decide to join the RCMP versus, like you mentioned, the OPP? For those who don't know, that's the Ontario Provincial Police. So what made you decide to go the RCMP route versus OPP or any other police services?
It was a tough decision because, you know, where I came from in Ontario, we have obviously the OPP, but we also had our own municipal force. So I was kind of looking at 3 different great options, and it kind of came down to, I was in college and I'd already done a partial diploma in forensic science. And with that, I chose not to finish it, and I chose to go more of the policing route. And there was a RCMP recruiter, and she pretty much said, yeah, we take any schooling you have. We love it, and it all counts because all knowledge is knowledge. And that was the first time I'd actually heard anything like that from a recruiter. All the other recruiters were like, oh, you don't have a diploma? Well, it doesn't really matter that much then. So it was kind of that first positive experience. And then I took a step back because they were like, you're probably going to move to Saskatchewan. And I don't have anything against people in Saskatchewan. I love Saskatchewan, but I wasn't ready to move to Saskatchewan. So I kind of gave that, I was like, don't think so. Got comfortable in a full-time job. And it's when that job kind of dismissed me that I was actually approached at, it was the mounted ride came to the musical ride. Came to Apsley of all areas, and they had such a tiny little field that they didn't even have enough space for the horses to stop properly. So the end of the show, this horse stopped, and it was like right in front of my face. And I didn't flinch or anything. I'd been around horses, so I just knew, don't spook it, be really still, act like you're a piece of furniture, and it'll be fine. The officer was actually impressed, and she's like, that took a lot of guts to just sort of sit there and do nothing. She's like, is this something you've ever considered being RCMP before? And I was kind of like, you know what? I did. And kind of stepped away, and she's like, then apply. And I was like, fine, done. Let's do it. Like, it was no more waiting. I was at such that point in my life that it was like, let's change everything up. Let's do this.
Yeah, you were ready at that point as well. I think that was just around the time that I started to actually get to know you as well. So, yeah. Denise, did you want to actually ask some questions, or I'm going to go for another route around here?
Yeah, no, I
didn't know if you wanted to.
I was enjoying the listening part instead of the talking part. Actually, what I'd like to do is pivot for a second, because when we started the introduction, Cass, we talked about how you were raised around firearms and how your dad was a competitive shooter. So can we just go back before you joined the RCMP and talk about that period of time where you were shooting and what you were doing, and were you competing, and what was your firearms journey before you decided to enter the police force?
Yeah. So we kind of mentioned briefly, is I did Project Mapleseed. I did it twice. The first time was my learning and getting used to some of these fundamentals that I wasn't fully familiar with. And then the second time was more taking those to the next level and perfecting what I'd learned. I didn't do really any competitive shooting or anything. I just kind of did a lot of target shooting with my dad, and of course with my husband. My husband is also a multi-time Mapleseed marksman, so he's earned it on a variety of different guns with different sights and all of that. So it being a hobby that he had of target shooting, it was easy to get into and just keep that up. Being with him, it was something we could always do together. So,
and do you find that translated really well then? If we go back, so you had this great background from being a child and being raised with the respect and knowledge, then you as a civilian got the chance to be around competitions and everything. And how do you feel that helped you, especially being a female, now transitioning to a career where you have to use a firearm professionally, or at least carry one professionally?
It definitely, yeah. So it definitely helped. Well, of course, helped at depot, because depot is a very, very stressful time. There's so much going on that anytime that you can have something that you just are naturally comfortable at and good at, it makes just your day easier, your week easier. So me being so familiar with the fundamentals from Mapleseed and just being comfortable around them, it was made essentially my time at depot for firearms. That was the best time of the week. It was a time I look forward to. I could just be there. It was chill. Even the instructors recognized my abilities, and like I was treated differently because I had respect from them because of my, like I displayed the proper handling and care and everything. Then in the field, it's helped so much. I deal with a lot of firearms in the area that I'm in. It's pretty much a weekly thing. And one of the big things is a lot of the guys turn to me to clear and make safe a firearm for them, because of just being comfortable with such a wide variety of them from my dad. I kind of can figure out how to clear just about anything. And so I'm often, somebody tries and can't, they often call me over to, Cass, can you make this safe for us? And that's kind of a fun thing to be, the person people turn to for those.
That's outstanding. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm guessing that that then you would recommend any ladies that are thinking of going into policing as a career to get involved in firearms and understanding them early, because obviously it's going to help going through the process as a cadet. So I think that's great piece of advice for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of women, what types of strength? So as women, what strengths do we bring to the profession of being a police officer? So is there anything specific, do you think, that we as women would bring to it or be beneficial for us?
Yeah, so overall, it's really like we bring a different perspective. Women see things from a different point of view.
Yeah.
It's known that we kind of use more emotions to guide decisions, and it helps us to help our other coworkers see other points of view at a scene. So anything you go to, you have these different perspectives, and that really, really helps. But the other thing is, like the kind of more obvious thing is it can help victims feel more at ease.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to more sensitive calls, so things like domestic violence or such, where it's a female victim, oftentimes they will feel way more comfortable speaking with another female about stuff that they're never going to say to a guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that, or children, any children things, they're usually more comfortable opening up, or even if you have to bring them to a safer location, they're more willing to, take that hand of the female officer than necessarily a male.
Yeah.
That's just from personal experience. It's not to say it's all the time, but it's definitely, some of those are the main things that I see. But of course, I've seen women in all sorts of different roles that are super, super great at what they do.
Okay. Is there any other types of roles, whether it's communications with communities or anything else that you can think of that women tend to not really are better at, but maybe are more adept at? So one of the things that I'm thinking of, I know with you, with respect to where you are in the community, where you are located, I know that you have a lot of interaction with the community specifically. Do you think that you as a female, it's something that is maybe something that because you are a female, you are more apt to build that alliance? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so definitely I do work, so where I am is heavily Indigenous. So we have a bunch of different bands. We have a Métis settlement as well.
Okay.
And my experience is that I have been given a lot of respect being a female person in authority, in that they're more willing to talk with me before going to, hands-on or like fighting with me or anything like that.
Yeah.
And oftentimes me just being there can calm down those situations where there's a number of people in our community that I could go arrest by myself and know that they're not going to hurt me, but we could send 2 guys down and there'll be a fight.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily something that the guys perpetrated. It's how the respect is seen by that community.
Right.
And so it's been kind of a fun experience to see that different cultures and stuff have more respect for a woman in authority.
Yeah. And that's going back to that question we have, what types of strengths do we as women bring to sometimes with policing? And I think that's exactly it.
Kelly, I want to put a pin in that for a second because I want to flip it. I know that when I had the opportunity, we as a She Shoots committee had the opportunity to meet Cass as a group. Not only did we talk about that softer side of policing and some of the things that females are definitely drawn into and can excel in, but I want to point out that Cass is a badass too, and she likes to kick doors and drive fast. So I want to point out that women can do the other stuff too.
Yeah.
And that it's not just that women are brought into policing for that softer side, but they are expected to be able to uphold all of the requirements of being a police officer.
Absolutely.
And from what I understand, Cass, you're pretty good at that stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely enjoy that aspect of it. It's some of my favorite things to do. I definitely get complaints from my husband that I come home some nights and I'll be like, oh my gosh, do you know what I just got to do? And I'm just so amped up because it can be really fun stuff and everything, especially if you're being safe and doing everything you're supposed to be, right? So
awesome.
So how do you stay safe? And what I mean by that, Cass, is what have you done to help move your career along, taking courses to be a better servant of the community, a better police officer, and just adding to your policing resume? What are some of the things you've done?
I've done a lot of different styles of courses. So we kind of have 3 main styles right now. We have in-person, we have virtual, and then we have self-guided stuff. So I've done a lot of, like, every year you have mandatories. You have your personal kit qualifications, so that's your firearm, your baton, OC, or pepper spray as most people call it. And so we have all of those mandatory qualifications, but we also have some in-person ones that's called our IMIM. That is essentially the decision model that we have. It's a giant circle that tells us how to behave in different situations. It's not definite in that, if somebody comes at you with a knife, this is what you do. It's more in behaviors. So we have various different behaviors, and the circle kind of tells us if they're being like this, you should try this kind of behavior. And to always take into consideration, though, that like just our presence can sometimes be enough. Mm-hmm. So presence and communication is the root of it. And then it kind of goes based on if they're being more aggressive, that steps up our stuff. So that's a big one that we get refreshed on every year, but we are constantly dealing with in this area because just the nature of our calls. So you're constantly aware of exactly how you're supposed to react. Other things I've done is, of course, our carbine course. It's now an integrated part of Depot. But when I did it, it was kind of done at the end after you'd completed all your mandatory courses. It was an extra one. That one was a lot of fun. It's a week-long experience learning everything about our patrol carbine C8 and as well as how to handle that, shooting it on the move and prone from 100 meters. So stuff that you just didn't do with the shotgun or with your pistol.
You recently redid that
other
one,
fun.
correct? Sorry to interrupt, but
Yes,
you recently redid that, yeah.
Yeah, I recently got to redo that here in Alberta, and it was really, really fun week, and just kind of refresher. And you refresh yourself on that every year too.
Yep.
Other really fun courses we've done is a course we call IARD. It stands for Immediate Action Rapid Deployment. Essentially, those are situations where you have a person that is a threat that's on the loose. So like a active shooter, a person running around with a knife, those kind of situations. And so we train for all of those. We train for them if you're going to be acting as a single person or multiple people. So how to work as a unit and those kind of things. So those are kind of some of the ways we do them safely. And then of course, advanced driving tactics. You're always applying those, always improving on them. And then just, so some of the things that help do things that I like to do safely is kind of not the fun courses. They're a self-guided course that we do online. And it's things like making sure you know how to write a search warrant properly and you know your reasons to go in and everything.
Yeah.
Those are like, they sound kind of boring legal stuff, but it's how you know that what you're doing is safe and proper, and it goes over all the considerations you need to take. So
awesome. All right. Well, since we've actually talked about some of the courses, let's talk about some of your gear now. You did talk about your kit specifically. Let's talk about the gear that you have. Now, as a female, is there special considerations you have to have? I know that we have extra body parts that some people don't have. So
until recently, there was all the exact same kit as the guys. I think it was around 6 years ago, they started fitting women at depot for custom fit vests. And that they included measurements around your bust as well as your stomach. So then you got that difference that a lot of us females have. So now the vests are improving. They've improved them once again since I joined. And they've got them so that they got nice proper like curves in the center so that it kind of sticks out more and accommodates that space that you need. But those are pretty much the only thing that's gendered in our kit.
Okay. Nothing else is gendered, specifically like pants, shirts, or anything like that. Everything else is standard.
Pretty much. Some companies help and try to make some gendered, like female fit pants.
Right.
But it's kind of hit or miss whether people like them or not. So.
Okay. So it doesn't matter whether you're female. Let's just hit on this point. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. You're still required to carry the same amount of gear, correct?
Absolutely. It weighs the exact same amount. There's no difference between me and a guy that's like 6'5". We'd all carry the same gear, same amount of stuff. I've put that back on somebody on scene. They said, oh, you're little, you mustn't be so tough. And I said, yeah, think about it. That guy over there, him and I completed the same test to be here.
Well, that means you're able to actually do it. Just like Deneen mentioned, women are expected to actually do the exact same things as the men that are actually going through depot as well. So why don't we go back to a little bit as well? Well, you did talk about requalifying as well. You have to do it every year. But first, why don't you tell us what you carry? What's your duty pistol? What's your rifle? What's your shotgun? Because you do actually have 3 different types of firearms that you can use daily. So why don't you tell us about those, and then we can talk about requalifying.
Yeah. So we have the shotgun. It's a Winchester 860, I think it is. It's a very, very basic
870? Yeah.
870. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a very basic shotgun. I personally own one, so it was pretty, easy to get around using that. Without use just standard ammunition. It's usually used for putting down animals on the roadside.
Okay. What about pistols? What should you do to pistol?
Duty pistol is a Smith & Wesson. I'm forgetting the type. It's like 5926, I think. I should remember it. I remember my serial number, but
well, actually,
that's the more important thing they want us to know.
I think what's significant about the pistol is the trigger
weight.
People need to understand the trigger weight that you and everybody has roughly within the same range, and what that means for people who are maybe new to pistols or to trigger weights. What do you deal with, Cass?
Yeah. So the trigger on our pistol is between 8 and 12 pounds.
Right.
So mine, it's not necessarily the same trigger pull as the guy next to me. And it is a lot. Like if you've never tried to pull back 12 pounds with a single finger, it's a lot more than you think it is. I know a few people that we've given the opportunity to try one of our issued firearms. It's been a shock to them. I had one person hand it back to me and say, I think it's jammed and not working.
For people that don't understand why there's such a significant trigger weight or trigger pull, can you explain why it's so heavy?
Yeah, it's actually one of our safety features.
Exactly.
Because our safety isn't a manual switch safety. Mm-hmm. We don't have that on our firearm. Our firearm has 5 other points of safety that help us to make sure that, you're not accidentally discharging and stuff. Like every time I discharge my firearm, it is very much with an intention because of how that gun is built. Yeah. I know exactly which state it's in, and it's very intentional. It's not something you would do by accident or by bumping it, tripping, falling, or anything like that. So it's for everyone's safety, including our own as the person who's carrying it, because a lot of people don't think about it, but we actually carry it ready to go. So there is one in the chamber when it's on my hip at all times. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have those other safety things in there.
Right. And the last piece that we're going to be talking about is what's your rifle. I think you've already mentioned it, but do you want to tell us about what your duty rifle is?
So it's the patrol carbine. It's a C8, and it's a black looking gun. That's what most people see it. They call, a lot of times we get called assault rifles. They are a patrol carbine.
Yep.
And they are not full automatic. So that's a big misconception that we often hear too, is that they're full automatic. But they are a semi-automatic, and you have to have a very rigorous course to be on it. It's not a very quick course. So like I was saying, it was like a week long.
Right. And what caliber?
There is a rifle.
Sorry.
I
think it's a 5.56, right? 223 NATO 5.56 standard.
Yeah, it is. I think.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. And then we have a rifle too, but not a lot of people are trained on it.
Okay.
And it's just a 308 rifle.
Okay. Have you been trained on it at all?
I have not. No. Okay. I tried to get the course because there's another marksmanship award for that one.
Okay.
And I wanted it, but I haven't been able to get the course yet.
So, just to also follow up with the, about what you carry and what your duty pistols and everything are, you do have, the expectation is you do requalify every year. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're fully responsible for ensuring that you are like qualified.
Okay.
There's no supervisor that's going to be like, oh, you need to go for your course. Sorry.
Okay. Are you able to actually go out onto the road? Are you able to even respond to anything if your qualifications fall through? Or
They still let you go out, yeah.
okay, but you do have to requalify every year.
You do have to requalify, and you have to articulate why you were not certified. So if there was ever a time where you were lapsed, it would be something that'd be fully reported, and you'd have to have the reasoning why that you never went for your qualification again.
Okay.
So one quick question about all of your firearms. Are they issued to you, or and are you responsible for care and maintenance other than when they go, for big work? But who takes care of your guns for you, Cass?
I take care of my own firearm. It's completely up to me. And it's assigned at depot. So you literally get the firearm, and that'll be with you for your whole career unless we change duty pistols or what have. So yeah, it's completely on you. If you show up to your quals and your gun is jamming because it's clogged full of dust that's caked into your oil and everything, that's your fault.
And what about your carbine and your shotgun? Are those assigned to you, or are they assigned to the car, or what happens with those?
In my detachment, they are assigned to the car. So each car is shared by two people, and it's up to between you two to decide who's like taking care of what, who's doing maintenance for what. So essentially, you should be doing your pre-patrol inspection of every firearm that you load into your vehicle. And that includes things like looking down to make sure there's nothing obstructing, making sure the feed path is cleared, making sure your light works, making sure your red dot sight works on your carbine, all of those kind of things. So you should never be putting a rifle or shotgun into your car that is in poor working order.
Right. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about you and responding to crisis. Do you think that you have, if there's a crisis that's happening and you have to respond, do you think it has to do more? Are you better prepared because of your personality, or do you think it's because of all the training you've had?
I think it's a combination. So a part of it is who you are, because it takes a special kind of person to hear danger, hear gunshots, and run toward it and not away.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that special kind of person that's your immediate natural reaction. When somebody's having that kind of problem, do you run to it or do you run away? Then your training, it does come into play. It does help you be more prepared to deal with it during, after, and make those decisions in high stress. And people to a certain extent can be taught to understand, like, I need to go to this. They can train themselves to run towards that danger. But a lot of it, I think, comes down to what is your reaction? Like, how do you react to stress? How do you react to that? It does take a special kind of person.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
So it's your personality and your training combined that it sounds like, but you got to start with the good foundation. Like you said, you didn't run away from a horse charging you, so it was a good start.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely correct. It has to be somebody who's confident, and the training will kick in automatically as well, but you have to have that good, as Janine says, the good foundation, a good personality that'll go with it as well. Yeah.
So can we pivot over a little bit to Kelly here and talk a little bit about being a lady that chooses this as a career? What if you want to get married and have kids and go on holidays and do those kind of things? How does that work as a female police officer?
Well, it's just the same as for guys, really. Like, if you want to go on vacations, you can. We have single fathers, and they get, they're taking care of their kids and stuff. So there is a few things that they do. Like one, we have harassment policies and everything like that, and discrimination policies. So there's nothing that, like, being pregnant or being at the age where you're, people kind of expect that you could be pregnant can never affect you in your career. That is not something that can happen. And there's been great things that have been done to make sure that that's not something that you can be discriminated against with this career. Same with being a parent. There's nothing that they don't really like discriminate against it. Obviously, they're going to tell you that, you're still going into this career, so you got to understand that it is shift work. But they do things with, if it's a 2-member house, they'll try to make sure that you're on opposite shifts or shifts that work for your childcare plans.
Oh, awesome.
They also take into consideration court actions. So if you have family, kids that are in a split home or anything like that, and you have to live within so many miles of the other parents or anything, they take care of that, in that your postings are where you need to be for that family. Okay. So they really do really good job with those kind of things. There is still some struggles that some people face, but that's going to be with any job, because it's a bit harder to just up and leave if your kid gets sick at school or anything like that. But there's ways around it, and ways people have. They're usually very, very accommodating with it.
What happens?
The other big. Sorry.
We're all going for the same thing, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, with, like, if you are pregnant, they do put you on what's called light duties. Okay. It's something that it's up to you to choose, but it's strongly encouraged, and through education of why, that you should go on light duties after your first trimester. And that's for the protection of obviously your unborn child. And they do that because they want to protect that, but it's also like, you can make your light duties what you want it to be. Yeah. So sometimes people can see it as a negative thing. It's like, oh, I'm not a police officer. I'm no better than, just a clerk or something, just sitting at the, sitting there doing nothing, can't get to go do the fun stuff. But really, if you keep yourself involved and insert yourself into the investigations, and, there's always paperwork that's going to need to be done, why can't you help out with it? So things like writing warrants and stuff like that are all stuff that these light duty members do. Taking some statements for major files, those are all big things too. Yeah.
Just on that point, clerks are important too. Just saying.
They are. Oh yes, they're very important.
But so are the people that are on light duties, because they're also helping out and making the cases as well. So what about when you are returning from mat leave? Is there an expectation? So what's the process of when you return? You'll go back to the same job, or do you need to do retraining? What types of things do you have to consider?
So it's up to the person. Like, they're responsible for your own training. It comes down to that, just like how you're responsible for everything of your own. You're expected to keep up to date with everything. So a lot of people do this by just staying in touch with coworkers, seeing what's been changing, what's not. They don't really offer you a retraining before you go back. Okay. You just kind of go back. But of course, you have to qualify. So you have to make sure you get those qualify, like the firearms and OC and all of those back in. But yeah, it's really, a lot of it unfortunately comes back to, don't just take that time that you're taking for your mat leave. Still be involved, still like look into what's happening, listen to case law, those kinds of things, because it'll make your return easier.
Yeah. Really good recommendations. So
So one of the things, Cass, you shared with us when we were getting to know each other a week or so ago, you were sharing with us some of the training you've done and some of the things you do in the community you're in right now with regards to media and some media training. You want to tell us a little bit about that? That's kind of a special area, right? Not everybody does that.
Yeah, so I am a media relations officer. So it's a special course that I had to take, as well as I think it was roughly about 3 months of all of my releases being reviewed by a senior media relations officer. And essentially, it means that I'm the person that the newspaper comes to, the radio comes to, if they want to know why there is a heavy police presence in the area. So it's my responsibility to review all the files that we've had and determine which ones are significant and might need the community to know that we were there, something happened, and that everything's safe. That's kind of the main thing to pass on to the media and like pass on to the public, is that media person is there to let everybody know, don't worry, we know about it, and we're here to make sure that everything remains safe.
So you're doing that up in a northern detachment, northern Alberta, small town, large Indigenous community. Obviously, that would be different than perhaps an RCMP detachment in the Lower Mainland. So what kind of other duties or activities are happening out of your detachment that you want to make us aware of?
Well, like we do a lot of, like, the media relations officer does other things too, of course, lots of things, but it's expected that all of the officers are going to have multiple roles. So some of the other things I do is I'm a field coach. So that means I train the cadets after they come out of depot for their next 6 months. So I'm responsible for them. I do child investigations. So I take statements from children and youth who are victims or witnesses of serious crime. I'm also a youth officer. So I arrange all of the school presentations when we go to community events, all of those kind of interactions and stuff, as well as I spent 1.5 years while doing all of this as the assigned member to the Kikino Métis settlement. So it was giving special, like my days were spent down in Kikino, getting to know the community, how the community wanted their police kind of to work and everything, as well as like going to their major events and stuff. So I got to do some fun stuff. Like I got to go to Kikino Rodeo, which is always really fun.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, being the more you work here, the longer, because we're such a small detachment, we only get new people from depot. So there's lots and lots of people that come in after you, and they're all younger than you. So currently right now, I'm the most senior person in the constable role. And so that means oftentimes I'm senior constable on shift. So that means I now have to act as that supervisor, or like how a corporal would when there's no corporal on. So things like overviewing major incidents, such as like sudden deaths, supervise everything that's going on, and reviewing major files, those kinds of things, on top of your regular go to calls.
So Kelly, should we ask her to pick her favorite and share with us what her favorite part of her job is? Because that's going to be putting her on the spot, don't you think?
I think that we have that in somewheres in our question. So yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it right now. What's your favorite aspect of being a police officer?
So one of my very favorite things to do is pursuits, vehicle pursuits. They can be really crazy and really fun, and a lot of people don't know that they're not always really fast, even though the fast ones are really fun.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting ones that I actually didn't share with you guys when we were talking before is a couple of months ago, we had a pursuit. The top speed was 35 kilometers, and we were pursuing a grader.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
A road grader. So essentially the guy had tried to hurt some people with the grader and taken off like down the road in a grader. And it was kind of funny because even the guy who, like the supervisor that monitors it all in Edmonton, he's like, what what do we do? Like, how do we stop this? We can't use a spike belt because it's not going to deflate the tires. And it was kind of just like, we just got to follow it and try and direct it until it stops, right? Because how do you stop a grader? Like, you're not wanting to use your PC to stop it. Unfortunately, it did end up having to use a PC to stop it. The guy took a U-turn and he wasn't going very fast and collided with one of our vehicles.
Oh dear.
But no one was majorly hurt, so that was really good. But it's a really interesting story too, though, because like, who's pursued a grader at 30 kilometers per hour?
When you say PC, I'm assuming it means patrol car for those people that are watching or maybe watching this later and don't know what we're talking about. But that is a great story. I've heard a couple like, lawn mowers and ride 'em tractor things and stuff. So that's a good one to add to that.
I still think you should add at the end of it that it wasn't the guy ran into the patrol car. It should be that there was a tactical maneuver at the end. It sounds much
tactical
better.
Contact.
Yeah, it sounds like much more exciting. So let's talk about this a little bit. You're currently working up north in a town that's a little bit more remote. Now, how often are you able to put in for deployment to other detachments or to move around? Do you get a choice?
So to a certain extent. And so up here, Lac La Biche, where I am, used to be considered what was considered a limited duration post. So that means that they wanted you there for a set period of time, and often that was to do with the amount of call volume, the amount of stress and stuff, just trying to make life easier on the members and their families. So when I came here, it was a 4-year posting. So that means you do 4 years and then they want you to transfer somewhere else. If you're not in one of those limited duration posts, then at 3 years, they'll let you say, hey, I kind of am thinking somewhere else. And they'll take it into consideration, but they may not move you. With the LDP that we call, they have to move me at 4 years. And as far as getting a choice, not a little. You get to give your input is a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you get to give your opinion on where you think you should go, and they may or may not have that for you.
Okay.
And they'll give you some offers, and you kind of go back and forth, and eventually you come to some sort of consensus.
So do you get a chance to work with a bunch of other female officers up in Lac La Biche?
We have 3 other females in my detachment. So there's 20 officers total in my detachment, and 4 of us are girls. So I usually end up working with them. But they do try to spread us out among the different lines
shifts.
Of people working. Yeah, shifts. But I've had the opportunity to work with all of the girls there, and then there was girls that have transferred out and stuff, and it's each one is different, and it's really fun to work with all of them and everything. For a long time, I think almost a year, it was my shift was just me and one other girl, and people called us the "Don't mess with us" line because we were both redheads. And so it could be quite an interesting time. 2 redhead cops are the only ones that are patrolling all of Lac La Biche that night. Don't mess with us.
That's awesome.
And what's the female to male kind of ratio going on right now with the RCMP hiring process? I know we're seeing a lot of recruiting happening. I know that all areas of policing seem to be trying to do a lot of recruiting and trying to take into account diversity and all those other things. What are you seeing in the RCMP right now as far as women recruits and candidates?
It's definitely increased. So when I was at Depot, there was 7 girls in my troop of 32.
Okay.
And then some of my more recent recruits, they've had either the same amount of guys versus girls, or more females than males.
Okay.
I know from recruiting that they are trying for a more like 50-50 sort of male-female ratio.
Okay. Do you think that's a positive move, step forward?
I think as long as they are the right fit for the job, of course it is. Like, I would definitely welcome any of them here. But I don't want us, a big thing is I don't want us to lower our standard just so that we hit a golden number.
Awesome. You can tell that you've gone to your media training. I absolutely agree with you 100%. So, okay. I just wanted to know. Go ahead.
And are we seeing older or younger recruits in that hiring process? Are people waiting to be mature, or are they, that didn't come out right? Are they waiting to be mature? Are we seeing more mature candidates? Okay, Kelly, you talk now. I'll just put my foot, take my foot back.
We do see a good mix, honestly. My troop had anything from a guy who turned 18 like a month before he came to Depot.
Wow.
To, I think our oldest one was 42. And I've known of people who've been 50 at Depot.
Yeah. So the cutoff is
it's definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And what do you think?
As long as you can pass.
As long as you can pass. But do you think bringing experience and maturity is good, or do you think starting fresh-faced with no bad habits, so to speak, is the way to go?
I really prefer working with the people who have had some life experience. Life experience doesn't mean you're older. It just means what you've experienced. So definitely the ones who have been out in the world, kind of done some stuff for their own, those are the ones that I find are better equipped to handle the job as a whole. So it's not necessarily like an age range that I'd cut people off at, but it's more so you should have experience. Like, if you're a person who's always lived in your parents' house, never done your own laundry, and you've never had to do anything really for yourself, you might want to step out of that comfort zone for a little bit and understand who you are outside of that safe realm before you pursue something like this kind of career. Because the ones that are more successful, the ones that are what we'd say the more switched on officer, are those ones that have had other things in their life that have they bring that experience with them. So
yeah, wonderful.
That's a great way to put it. And on that thought process, what advice would you give women specifically if they want to enter policing, other than life experience?
I definitely, like, obviously the life experience is going to be a thing. There's always a good amount of, I think a lot of the females that I've been through training with, is it needs to be a lot of self-reflection, and you need to come and realize, like, what are you actually signing up for? Because when people kind of see that at Depot, or they see that in the field, it's too late. Yeah. So a lot of them, I've had a lot of officers who, and then they are females, that they think they want this, and then they actually get into it and they think that they're going to be treated differently. And that's the thing. You're not going to be treated differently. I'm treated really no differently than any of the other guys at my detachment. So that's a big thing. Like, and it's a thing to get used to. Like, a lot of people aren't used to, like, you're literally going to be the same. You're expected the same equivalent as all of the guys. So it's something to be real with yourself, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much, Cass, for coming on tonight. We just hold on, though. We do have some questions that I think the people that have been viewing have asked. And I know Casey's going to come back on, too. So we're going to do a little bit of a question and answer period. And then we're going to look at giving away some prizes. So, Casey, do you got some questions identified here for Cass?
I do. So the first question is from Justin Green, and he's asking, is there a particular moment or defining moment in your career that made you proud to be in law enforcement, or especially a woman within law enforcement?
Yeah, this one's like more of, it was kind of, I don't know, it was a great time, honestly. So Lac La Biche hosted the World 3D Archery Tournament in my first year of service here. And so we hosted the world. We had archers from all over the world come here, and it really kind of showed me what like how people see Mounties or like as a symbol of Canada. So we got to be a part of a parade of the entrance going in of the athletes. And the biggest moment was when I had a woman who was a female police officer in Israel come up to me, and she wanted to let me know how much she respected the decisions that I'd made to be in this career. And I'm just kind of like, this old Israeli lady who is like an ex-police officer over there is telling me she thinks that I'm a great person. Like, it kind of meant a lot to me there. And it was like, I always want to live up to her expectations of me, because she was kind of cool.
Awesome.
Gives you some inspiration right there.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So this one again is from Justin Green, and he's asking, is there a part of your gear that is your favorite, or a particular firearm that's your favorite at the range?
So firearm at the range, definitely. I really enjoy firing my carbine. It's a fun rifle to manipulate and stuff like that. Plus, it doesn't have the 11.5-pound trigger pull that my personal pistol has. But I do enjoy still shooting my pistol. As far as favorite kit, probably though, taser. I really enjoy having a taser because it's that extra step. I have that extra intervention option that we call it. And so if I can reach for my right leg on a call to stop something, as opposed to reaching to my left hip or my right, the wrong side. If I can reach to that taser as opposed to my firearm, it's a better day for everybody. So that's probably why it's one of my favorites, is it's just that in between, you're not using lethal force, but you're still having that step that's higher than OC or a baton.
Yeah.
The carbine comment, I love it. I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that the trigger in your carbine is a Geisley 2-stage 2.5-pound trigger. So that's a far cry from a 12-pounder. So no wonder it's something that's way more fun and responsive. So
yeah.
So our next question is from Shotgun Al Shaw, and he's asking, does the heavy trigger pull affect your accuracy?
It can, if you don't have the proper grip, and if you're not using the proper stance and stuff on your firearm. It's of course going to affect it, because you're going to pull to the side. Not something that you want to do. And so that's why they teach us really, like, you need to form that really good grip, and your stance will all those things matter. So I think it teaches you that you have to have really good fundamentals to be able to be very accurate with that gun.
Yeah. Everything comes back to fundamentals.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is from Justin Green, and he's asking, are there things you practice to help you in high stress scenarios?
Yeah, like one of the big things they teach us is box breathing. So it's just, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. So just regulating your breathing. That's one of those scientific things that helps your nervous system kind of regulate itself and helps you keep a level mind. So that's a big one that I've personally used on different high stress calls and everything. as well as you kind of get to learn some of your own things that help you deal and cope. So oftentimes I'm pre-thinking of things as I go to a call and itemizing, okay, this is when I arrive, this is what I'm going to do. I need to do A, B, and C, because those are always the first things you do on this type of call. And so if you're prepped going there, then you're more comfortable when you arrive and things aren't going how you want them to. You kind of already know those basic things because you're like, no, I already planned. I need at least these 3 things. So
yeah,
those are kind of the 2 main things I find.
Awesome. All right, and then our next question, Connor Ware asked if you were the only officer in your detachment, but you had said that you had 20, I think you said.
Yep.
So I think that one's kind
and
of
I think somebody else replied to it too.
Yeah. And then Connor was asking what your current duty pistol is, because I think he missed it earlier. And again, somebody answered it.
So if those of you who don't know, Corey Johnson is Cass's husband, and he's been actually the guy that she was talking about at the beginning of the program that has been to multiple Mapleseeds as well. So Corey, thank you for actually sharing your wife with us tonight.
Thank you, Corey.
Yes. And then let's see here. We've got 1AB who's asking, what was the most challenging mental stresses during training?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
I think the most challenging thing is the pressure. So during your workday, everything it just feels so risky and important because anything can get you sent home at depot. So you're constantly like, I need to perform so well because I'm not going home. And that's what I've heard from most people is it's just that pressure to be excellent.
Yeah.
And which, I mean, it can sound really bad, but at the same time, we want excellence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the RCMP is known worldwide for, is their training excellence. That's why countries send people here to learn how we train at depot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stressful, but there's ways you can help yourself deal with that. Being more prepared, organizing your outside of training hours time. Those are all things that you can do to try and make everything easier, or doing things like going and, being more comfortable with your firearms. So that's not a stressor.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that being physically fit also helps you with the mental game as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because you're go all day. You need to be physically fit. You need to be able to get up and go and do everything. Like if you're not, you're just going to crumble. It's not going to work well. Plus you're going to have that added stress of not being good at that course and worrying, are you going to pass your pair and all of that? And you just don't need those worries of, will I pass, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is it for the questions.
Good questions tonight.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, really good. We had really good questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, should we move on to give out some free stuff?
Yeah, let's do that. We have some, let's give away some stuff.
I thought Christmas was over. We're still giving away things.
Oh, Christmas is like every month once we are
Right.
on, of course.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna start the giveaways with giving Cassandra a She Shoots T-shirt, so you can be part of the crew.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Exactly. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, we're also going to be giving out a She Shoots t-shirt to people that replied on the chat. So let's give that one out first.
Casey, you ready? Are you able to actually?
I've got to count. Hold on.
Okay. This happens every time.
So we've got a CUSIF pack, a She Shoots T-shirt, and
the Canada First Ammo.
Canada First
Woohoo!
Ammo.
Thank you to Canada First Ammo. This is the first time they're participating in our She Shoots podcast as well. So
And they have decided to graciously sponsor for the entire year. So they will be giving us 12 goodie packages, and we will be happy. Oh, thank you, Casey, to share their logo.
Look at that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
brand new. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah,
I love their
that's
logo,
awesome.
by the way.
The only thing we got to chat with them about is this whole fellas thing, because we're not, I mean, I get it. We're all fellas, but some days we would like to not.
Hey, fellas
be
and
fellas.
Gals.
Right?
Yeah, we need some
Yeah.
female influence in there.
We've
All
got
right,
a year,
I'm ready.
ladies. We've got
Okay,
a
you
year.
ready, Casey? You
I'm
good?
ready. We'll start with the Canada first one because I just popped up the logo.
Okay.
So
Okay.
our first winner is Jocelyn Dunn.
Yay, congratulations.
Okay, Jocelyn Dunn.
All right. And then I just dropped everything down. Here we go. Our second winner is Justin Green.
Congrats. And then
Juice package for Justin Green.
Yep.
check that.
And Justin, because you're on YouTube, we can't send you a message. So if you could send me an email at casey@ladyguns.ca, I will make sure that we get your prize to you.
Okay, and then we'll do the She Shoots t-shirt. So who's our last winner?
That was 2 people, right? Did I mess something up?
Yeah, nope, we got a third one coming.
We got a third one. Yeah, because it's
Keep
the
talking, then I missed one.
So continue talking. Yeah, because we have the prize pack as well from QSIF.
Okay, I got it. And our next one is Angela Carlo.
Oh,
Hey,
Angela.
congratulations.
And same again, because you're on YouTube, we can't send you a message. So send me an email at casey@ladyguns.ca, and that's KACIE@ladyguns.ca.
I know both Justin and Angela too, so.
Well,
Okay.
thank you to the prize winners for supporting the show tonight and coming on live. It's it always is great having people, and especially all the great questions. So
yeah,
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. And for everyone that's listening, like after the live, if you ever want to try and maybe win a prize, just come on to the live episodes. We're always happy to have you.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Shall we do a couple of thank yous as well? Most importantly, thank you, Cass, for coming on tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
All
much.
your great information. I think that as we can see all the comments and everything, great feedback, and everybody while we were going through, people were saying thank you for your service, and also for all your great answers and everything too. So yeah,
And
really.
and then something we didn't do, or maybe we did and I totally missed it, is to tell everybody that we've changed the format slightly of the show for season 2, and we've got categories now. So as you're watching our social media posts, you'll see that Casey's put some great icons up, and Cassandra was part of our professional and career series, and so you'll see throughout the season that we will have guests that are representing the shooting sports, mentors and coaches, groups and organizations that support the shooting and hunting industry. And we have a special one called Keepers of the Land. So we are really looking forward to having guests representing those various categories and do something a little different for our viewers this year.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let's just go on to our upcoming events. So I'll start with this USF. So we'll be continuing with our Shotgun League for the months of January through to March, and all the winners will be announced at the end of March, and there'll be a shotgun and a few medals that will be the prizes. So if you want to participate, just go to this usf.ca. So that's it for me. So Kelly, Mapleseed.
Yep. So Mapleseed, we are right now currently planning our 2023 season. So we'll be posting some of the dates as they become available on our website, as well as our Facebook page. Come out and join us this year. We're going to have lots of events all over the country. And also, hopefully, we're trying to arrange some QSIF events as well. So we'll continue to do that and continue our partnership with Canadian University Shooting Federation. So, yeah. What about you, Deneen?
Lady Guns isn't going to quite get across the country, but we're going to do BC and Alberta. We'll go back out to Kamloops. Kelowna's invited us over there. Maybe we'll get down to other parts of the Okanagan. And of course, we're going to do a bunch more in Alberta. Our first adventure day is going to be a ladies' ice fishing adventure. And we're going to be up in Lac La Biche, Alberta with Cassandra. So we had 50 women last year, and we're looking for 80. And that is all organized, of course, by our friend Lisa Roper from Lisa Roper Outdoors, who has just launched her TV show. So we're excited to be working with her on that. And I think that's about it. And then also in March, we will have our International Women's Day events that she shoots, and the QSIF ladies group, women's division, is organizing. So we can stay tuned for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, I don't know if we're missing anything else. Can I go ahead and start wrapping it up?
Wrap away.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. So once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Cabela's Canada Outdoor Fund, Savage Arms, Beretta, Vortex, and Canada First Ammo. If you liked today's episode, please leave us a like and follow us so you don't miss out on any of our episodes. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. If you liked our message and you'd like to learn more about our programs, check out our websites at cusf.ca, ladyguns.ca, and mapleseedrifleman.com. To support us and get some additional perks, check out our membership programs. Thank you all for tuning into the She Shoots podcast, episode 13, Women Who Protect and Serve. And as Deneen mentioned previously, this year we'll be covering 4 different themes with a special theme at the end of the year. Will be consisting of professional/career organizations, sport shooting, and mentors or coaches. Next one, we'll be diving into the theme of organizations, so make sure to keep an eye out on our social medias to find out the topic and who our guest will be. So lastly, our episode is technically supposed to be on Valentine's Day, so we decided that we don't want to have that conflict, so we'll move it out to Wednesday. So it'll be on February 15th, 2023, same time as always. So thank you all and have a good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. See you in February.